Hey guys, welcome to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video I'll be teaching you how to draft this turtleneck blouse with asymmetric waistline that you can see on the thumbnail. So if this is something you're interested in, keep on watching and let's get started. I'll start by drafting the front. The first thing I'll do is to start taking my points. So the first point is the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my under bust point, which is 13 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my waist in front, which is 16 inches. And the last point is going to be the length that you want for your blouse. So what I'll do is to add extra 8.5 inches from the 16 inches. That is how long I want this blouse to be. So it totally depends on you. After doing that, I'll go ahead and roll straight lines across all these points. First line, bust line, second line, under bust line, third line, waistline, and the last line should be the length of your blouse. After doing that, I'll take half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I'll indicate that with a dot. On that dot, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. For the neck width, I'll be using 2.5 inches. So I'll indicate the 2.5 inches from the center front. After doing that, I'll slant from the 2.5 inches to meet the 1 inch shoulder slope, as you can see. Next thing I'll do is to go down by my armhole depth, which is 8 inches. So I'll go down by 8 inches. On that 8 inches dot, I'll make sure I have the same measurement that I have on the shoulder line, which is 8 inches. I'll indicate that. After doing that, I'm going to roll a straight line across, as you can see me doing. So this is going to be my chest line. Next thing I'll do is to place the same measurement that I have on the chest line, which is 8 inches on this line, and I'm going to connect like this in a straight line. After doing that, I'm going to place my tape on the straight line and I'll divide what I have into 2 equal halves. Half of it is 4 inches, so I indicate the 4 inches with a dot. On that dot, I'm going to come in by half an inch and I'll indicate the half an inch with a dot. The next thing I'll do now is to take my neck depth. I'll also be using 2.5 inches for the neck depth since it's a turtle neckline, okay? After doing that, I'll connect. After connecting, I'm going to take half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches on all the lines, and I'll connect all the dots into a straight line, as you can see me doing. After doing that, I'll be taking 1 inch on both sides of the straight line. So if you are busty, take 1 inch on the center front and take 1.5 inches or 2 inches on the side front. So for me, I'm not busty, that's why I'm taking 1 inch on both sides. So connect all the way up to the under bust line, okay? So after doing that, I'm going to go down by 1 inch from the bust line. I'll indicate the 1 inch with a dot. Next thing I'll do is to use the curved part of my roller to connect from the under bust line like this to meet the 1 inch that I came down with. After doing that, I'm going to place my tape on the shoulder and I'll measure what is left, which is about 5.5 inches. I'll mark the middle by folding my tape roll into 2 and I will indicate the middle. After doing that, I will extend the dart leg to meet the chest line and then I'll connect from the midpoint of that shoulder to that point like this. So the next thing I'll do now is to place my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. After doing that, I'm going to connect from the shoulder slope to meet the half an inch that I came in with earlier, and from there to the dot that I have on the chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 4. Since I already have my bust circumference divided by 4, what I did next was to add my stitching allowance. On the under bust line, I placed my under bust circumference divided by 4. I replaced the dart of 2 inches and I added my stitching allowance. On the waistline, I placed my waist circumference divided by 4. I replaced the dart and I added my stitching allowance. On the blouse length, I placed my hip circumference divided by 4. I replaced the dart and I added my stitching allowance. For the conical waist area, I added just 1 inch. You don't have to add too much. So after doing that, I'm going to connect, as you can see me doing. So using the curved part of my ruler, I'll connect the conical area like this. Okay, so after doing that, this is what I have. So the next thing I'll do now is to use my marker to outline all the important lines, as you can see me doing. So after doing that, we'll be working on the waist area, that is the design on the base of the blouse. So it's an asymmetric waist design. So what I'll do is to come in from this dart leg by 3 inches and I'll go up by another 3 inches. I'll use my free hand to connect like this. So before connecting it to look like this, I will advise that you fold in your darts like you can see me doing. Make sure you fold in your darts as if you have taken in your darts, and then go ahead and connect from the middle, okay, all the way as you can see. So I went up by 3 inches from the dart that I folded, okay, and then on that point I went up by another 3 inches. So it depends on what you want, but make sure you close the dart first of all before you connect, so they are going to match after cutting. You know, we are cutting them out separately, so when you are joining your fabric back together, everything is going to match up. So after connecting, this is what I have. This is the shape that I have. So we are done with the base. The next thing I'm going to do now is to take the side dart. So the difference between my front waistline and my back waistline is 1.5 inches. That is what I'll be using to take in my dart. So on the bust line, I went down by 1.5 inches. I'll slant all the way as you can see. So we're going to close up the dart on this end. So I'll also use my marker to outline the under bust line because we'll be cutting through the under bust line. After doing that, I'll create like a style line on the bodice of the blouse. So what I'll do is to just roll a straight line. So there's something I forgot to mention. I actually snatched my waistline. So on the waistline, I didn't place my original waist circumference. My waist circumference is 28. So I minus 4 inches from the 28, making it 24. So I now divided the 24 by 4. So what I placed on the waist was 6 inches. So you can go ahead and snatch your waistline if you want to. This style line that I created is because I'll be sewing bonings on the bodies of this blouse, okay. So go ahead and label your pattern paper so you don't get confused. After doing that, I went ahead to cut. So I'll be placing this yoke on another piece of pattern paper and I'll trace exactly what I have on this yoke out. I'll also be adding excess pattern paper on the side as you can see, okay. Just cut out everything plus the neckline, okay. After cutting, make sure you mark out the chest line and the bust line as you can see me doing, okay. So after doing that, I'm also going to mark out the neckline. Next thing I'll do is to take half of my nipple to nipple measurement. So I'm repeating what I did earlier, which is 4 inches, and I'll connect like this all the way up. The next thing I'll do now is to figure out how deep I want the neckline of the bustier to be. So this is the inner bustier. For me, I'm going up by 2 inches from the actual chest line. So I'm going to connect like this because I don't want it to be too deep. After doing that, I'm going to extend the dart leg all the way up. The next thing I'll do now is to take the dart. Remember, I used 1 inch on both sides, so I'll be taking 1 inch on both sides of this straight line on the base. After doing that, I'm going to connect it to meet the bust line as you can see. After connecting, I'll also tighten the over bust area. For the over bust tightening, I'll also be using 1 inch on both sides, okay. So if you are busty, you can do 1.5 inches on both sides. So after doing that, I'll connect it all the way down. So in case there's any sharp edge, go ahead and blend everything in place, okay. So after doing that, next thing you do is to place your measurements now. So on the chest line, I'll place my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll replace the dart and I'll add my stitching allowance. On the under bust line, I'll place my under bust circumference divided by 4. I'll replace the dart and I'll also add my stitching allowance. After doing that, I'll connect like this. Next thing you do is to figure out the type of neckline. So I'm doing a sweetheart neckline. So I just connected like this and I connected from there into the armhole area as you can see. So after doing that, this is what I have. Next thing I'll do is to take in the side dart. Remember why we transferred the other pattern paper to this? There was a side dart on that particular pattern paper. So I'm going to go down by 1.5 inches and I'll connect like this. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and cut, okay. So we'll not be needing this part of the yoke. So I'm going to close up the side dart, okay. You can fold it in and use your masking tape to hold it down, or you can open one side and use it to cover the other side. So it depends on what you want. So I'm going to close it using my masking tape. After doing that, I'm going to cut out. So for the center front, you'll be cutting it out on fold, and for the side front, you'll be cutting out two piece. Okay, so this is for the bustier inside the chantilly net. Okay, so yeah, the next thing we'll do now is to close up these darts on this side, so you can just open it up on the base and then cover it up, or use your masking tape to hold it down. I'll go ahead and cut out the neckline. So this is the full yoke, which is going to be on top of the bustier that we just drafted. Okay, so now we are going to draft out the back. So for the back, I'll go ahead and mark out my lines like I did for the front. Okay, so the bust line, the under bust line, the distance from my shoulder to my waist at the back. Okay, so measure that. The back waistline is 1.5 inches shorter than the front waistline. So after rolling out all the lines, as you can see me doing, I'll go ahead and take half of my shoulder measurements, which is 8 inches. On that 8 inches, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. For the neck width, I used 2.5 inches, so I slanted from the 2.5 inches to the shoulder slope. I went down by my armhole depth, which is 8 inches, and I connected like this. So I'm repeating everything that I did for the front. The neck depth for the back is 1.5 inches. After doing that, I marked my nipple to half of my nipple to nipple measurement on all the lines. So on the waistline, I'll be taking half inch on both sides. If you're busty, you can do 0.75 inches on both sides. I'll connect all the way down like this, and I'll connect upward like this. So after doing that, now I'll go ahead and place my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. I'll divide the straight line into 2, and I'll mark the midpoint. So I connected from the midpoint to the dot that I have on the chest line. After doing that, I added my stitching allowance to the chest line. On the under bust line, I placed my under bust circumference divided by 4, and I'm not replacing the darts for the back, and I added stitching allowance. On the waistline, I reduced 4 inches from my actual waistline, and then I divided what I had into 4, which is what I placed there, and I added my stitching allowance. So for the design of the base, I placed that of the front at the back, just to get exactly what I have at the front, as you can see. So after doing that, this is what I have. So I did not replace the darts at the back because I'll be adding loops to the back. So you can decide to sew your back however you want it. What I do was to go down by 1 inch from the neck depth, and I connected using the curved ruler to the dart leg, and then I took out 1.5 inches for the lacing bar. So the back, you can do whatever you want. Okay, so this is the design I decided to choose for the back. I went down by ½ inch, and I connected it like this to avoid any form of gaping. If you also want to add a style line to the back, you can just do it exactly as you can see me doing. So this is what I have. Okay, so I'm going to cut it out. I'll outline the under bust area. Okay, so the under bust area is going to be the chantilly net also. So I'm going to cut out. So you can cut your back out as a normal back. You can cut it out like this. You can do whatever you want to do with the back, provided the shoulders are matching. Okay, so this is how I'm going to leave mine. So yeah, that is all for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video, leave your questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.